Hey, welcome to this podcast where the truth is released to inspire you to find your voice, bring out the gold within you, and help you reach your full potential to roar out loud in the world around you. I'm your host, Mary Street, and I'm here to take you on a weekly journey of hope, inspiration, and empowerment. This podcast is where we believe in turning up the volume on life's practical tips, impart insightful wisdom, as well as share life stories of triumph, resilience, and passion. In each episode, we'll be diving deep into relevant topics in today's world, as well as into the incredible lives and stories of extraordinary everyday individuals like you and me who have been set free from the fears, lies, and have overcome great adversity and found their voice to release their roar. So whether you're tuning in during your morning drive, working out at the gym, getting ready for school, or cozying up with that good cup of coffee, get ready to amplify your life and ignite your courage. This is Roar Out Loud. Hey everybody, welcome to this podcast. I'm super excited that you're here with me today. And I just want to say a big thank you to those of you on the other end that literally take time to listen, but also those of you that have taken time to write in and just say how much this podcast is encouraging you and that it's just speaking to your heart. That's what we are here for. And I want to just encourage you to continue to grow with us and to continue just to lean in and listen. And if you like this podcast and if you've downloaded it and you've not left a review, then I would love for you guys to jump on and leave a review. So today in this podcast, we are talking about metamorphosis, a season of change. And metamorphosis, it's a word that was just dropped into my spirit last night. I've heard the word at different points and times in my life. I've even heard people speak on it. When I was really leaning in and I was like, God, what do I do this podcast on? I just instantly heard the word metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is a process in which somebody or something changes completely into like something different. And when you think about the word metamorphosis, usually you think of like a butterfly going through its cocoon season, or like a moth going through its cocoon season, or something changing. Different animals, obviously, throughout time go through a season of metamorphosis. The word itself in Greek means transformation or change. Metamorphosis in the Merriam-Webster dictionary describes this as a marked and more or less abrupt developmental change in the form or structure of an animal, as like a butterfly or a frog, occurring subsequent to birth or hatching. Sometimes we as humans, we go through a type of metamorphosis. Some of us have been in this season of metamorphosis, and it seems like your season has been an extremely long season. And I'm sorry if that is you, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry because everything is unto something. It's in this developmental, albeit many times hidden season, I should say, where you sometimes can feel extremely lonely, even misunderstood as you're changing and you're forming and you're working through and you're going through this crazy process. And I say crazy because I've been there and it does feel crazy. Some of the change is for greater growth because you're stepping into something. You're developing things in and of your own heart and your own life. You're pioneering, you're building, but to others on the outside looking in, it looks like you're doing nothing sometimes, or others see that you've been building for a very long time and right away, can jump to conclusions and they think, oh, this has taken X amount of time. God isn't on that, or they must not have heard very directly or correctly from God. Many people may have felt that about, I would say, even King David. If you think about King David's story, when he was making plans to build the temple, and while he may have stepped out in his own accord, putting together these plans and wanted to build this elaborate house for God, with these plans, nevertheless, it was a dream in his heart. And God blessed the dream. God partnered with the dream through his son Solomon, even though David didn't get to actually build the temple. He didn't get to do it. He made the plans, he made the preparations for it, but it was actually his son Solomon who actually stepped into the place of building. David was the pioneer. He had the dream, but Solomon was the builder, and he built the temple. Sometimes God takes us through valleys and mountaintops so we grow and we change into the pioneer that we're supposed to be, or the influencer that we're supposed to be, or the creative that he's called us to be. David, he was that. He was the creator. He was the dreamer. And Solomon was the pioneer, so to speak. He built it. He created it. He was the builder. But you could say David was pioneering the project as well through his dreaming. David dreamt with God in this place. And it's in this place of change. David went through this change. He thought, I'm going to build this temple. I'm going to be the one to do it. Solomon was David's successor, but David wasn't so sure that Solomon could actually handle it. But David had to let it go. And David was in this process of change over time. And so was Solomon. We all go through these seasons of change. And it's in this place of change where the shaking and the squeezing is happening. And sometimes literally it downright feels like it sucks. I'm just going to say that. I'm going to be real with you today, because the shaking and the squeezing, it's painful. It is painful, and it feels super hard. In the moment, you're like, this is hard and this really sucks. But in reality, once you get through it, once you get on the other side and you look back, you go, wow, that season felt really hard, but now it's not hard anymore. Sometimes it feels, like I said, horribly just painful. And I get it. I totally understand these seasons. Right now in our country, here in America, everything is being shaken. You can look at the world and you can go, wow, everything feels hard right now. You look at America and you go, man, there's no hope for America. But in reality, there is hope. Even though things are being shaken, things are literally being stirred up. And many of us in America, you may feel like you're going through the valley right now with the way the economic system is and the way food prices have gone up and gas prices and all of these things. And you may go, what is it going to be like for my children and my children's children? I believe we are going through a metamorphosis season right here in America. We just had our presidential primary elections. Yes, I'm wearing my voting sticker. We had our presidential primary elections, and people are desperate to see the wrongs in this country righted. There is a shaking. And in life, there will be seasons like this. It doesn't only happen once. I wish I could say it does, but it doesn't. I wish I could say that this is only going to feel hard for a season, but I won't, because there will always be seasons like this in life as we grow, as we change, as we continue to develop who we are as powerful people. The truth is, we're constantly changing, and life happens. And in life, in seasons, we go through the valleys and we go through the mountaintops, and we change with life. And if we lean in, we grow. If we shrink back or we shrink away from the pain or from what feels hard, we can inwardly die. Or at the very least, we literally give up the things, the dreams that are in our heart, and we abort the things of God that were on our life to do, the things that God put in our hearts. Don't grow weary in well-doing. Don't grow weary in stepping out and doing the good, doing what you're called to do. Galatians 6, verse 9, it says, let us not lose heart in doing good, for in due time we will reap if we do not grow weary. Some versions say we will reap a harvest, but regardless, we will reap if we don't grow weary. Don't grow faint in heart. Don't stop having courage. Don't give up. Let me say that again. Do not give up. Keep the vision at the forefront, even if it seems crazy to others. Keep the vision at the forefront. If you have the word of the Lord on something and you know that you have the word of the Lord, God spoke this dream into your heart and you're called to build it. You know that you've got the word of the Lord. Stay rooted and stay grounded in him and do not budge I want to say that again. If you know that you have the word of the Lord on something that you're called to step into, that you're called to create, that you're called to build, that you're called to pioneer, stay rooted and stay grounded in Him and don't budge. It doesn't matter what other people think. It doesn't matter if people laugh at you like they did at Noah for building the ark. Noah had the dream. He had the blueprints of heaven and he built the ark. And what happened? People laughed, people scoffed. But Noah did not grow weary in well-doing, and he saved his family. He saved and built a legacy. I want to tell you a story about our restaurant that we had back in Tanzania. In past podcasts, you may have heard me mention it here and there, but we had a restaurant called La Fuente, and it took 3 years to build. It was a dream. It was a dream in our heart to create this restaurant so that it would create wealth for our ministry projects that we were doing. And with this restaurant, we believe that it would be a place that it would touch people and change lives. And it did just that. We called it La Fuente because La Fuente means the fountain. And Jesus is the fountain of living water. And we literally decreed and believed that people would come to this restaurant and they would receive the peace of God. They would receive breakthrough in their lives. And they would receive love because God is love. And that's what happened in our community. It was a gathering place. People did get breakthrough as they came onto our property. People felt the peace. We often heard people say, your restaurant is so different from other places here in this city. And it was, because we prayed over it. We anointed the land. We invited the presence of the Holy Spirit. We would have prayer nights on our property. We would even worship on our property. And we absolutely believed that Jesus, and still believe Jesus is the fountain. He's the living water. And it took 3 years from the time that God gave us the vision of the restaurant to the time that it finally opened. Because we didn't have the capital. We just continued to plot away, and we continued because we had the word of the Lord. And as money would come in, we developed the land, we developed the property. And we didn't have supplies, we didn't have dishes, we didn't have the pots and pans, we didn't have the coffee maker, we didn't have any of those things to actually run a restaurant with. We didn't have capital to even buy the food supplies that we needed. But the 3 years passed and we finally were at a place to open, but we had no money. We had no money to open, and we didn't have any of the dishes or any of the things like I just mentioned. And it was so wild because my husband and I and our children, we were away on a family holiday, a short little 4-day family holiday. And we were at the coast, and I got a call from a friend who was closing down her place. And she said, Mary, are you sitting down? And right away I was like, are you okay? Is something wrong? And she was like, no. Are you sitting down? I just have something I want to run by you. And I was like, well, this must be a big something. And she goes, it is. And it was so crazy because that particular day, my phone had been out of battery and our children were so whiny and crying. And so we actually came back to our little bungalow to put them down for a nap, something that we hadn't done any of the days we were there. And it was on our last day that we were there. And so we were like, the kids need a nap. And we weren't even near the phone most days. And so this particular day, here we were. And even though my phone had been out of battery, the phone rang. I picked it up and it had like a bar of charge. And I was like, this is crazy. And I ran in to get the phone because I didn't want it to wake the kids up from the nap. And so anyway, I answered the phone and there she is. She's like, are you sitting down? And I said, yes. And she said, we are leaving the country and we're selling everything. And I was like, oh, wow. Where are you going? We had a whole conversation. She says, I told you we're selling everything. Do you want it all? And right away, at first I was stunned, and out of my mouth comes, well, yeah, I do. She says, I know you're starting a restaurant. Do you want it all? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And I said, but I have no money. I have no money. And I said, how much are you asking for everything? And she gave a number, and it was a really high double-digit number. And I was like, well, I have no money. And she says, well, I know that your God seems to always provide for you. And so I believe that he's going to come through with the money. And I was like, wow, okay, yes, you're right. He absolutely is going to. And I had 2 weeks to come up with the money. And so we began to pray. You can guess what ended up happening. He came through with the money. We ended up getting a call from someone else from the States, and they said, are you sitting down? I'm like, what is with this, with the sitting down? Yes, I'm sitting down. I'm sitting down. Well, they said, we just had a big job and somebody paid us big money, and we're sending you a $15,000 check. And we were like mind blown. It was crazy. And we're like, wow, God came through just in the nick of time. I say the nick of time because in our natural minds, we're like, oh my goodness, we only have 2 weeks. But in his time, there is no time, really. He lives outside of time. And he came through. And we were able to buy all the supplies, including an amazing coffee machine, which was $5,000 alone. And we started our restaurant. We started the restaurant, and it was so wild. In that moment, even though we had nothing, I stepped into this place of faith. I had the dream, and I believed God, and I gave my yes. I partnered with him, and I gave my yes. And we ended up opening. We were number 2 on TripAdvisor for over 4 years in our area. And we were one of the top restaurants that people would come to from all over the world. It was just amazing. It was amazing. And it was the same way with our girls' home in Tanzania. In 2010, we acquired the land. However, the dream was in the heart, my heart, way before that. But we acquired the land in 2010, and it took time. It took years saving up, saving up, saving up. And by the time we acquired the land, I didn't have the full amount of the money. But we ended up going to this one place. We'd been looking for land, and then we heard about this one property. And it just so happened to be a Catholic priest who people had been coming to him with suitcases of cash, literally, to buy the land. One of them was a person that wanted to start a nightclub, but he was a Catholic priest. And he said, I have been praying for you. When we came along, he said, I have been praying for you. You guys are the ones. Many people had come to him, like I said, with suitcases of cash, but he didn't want it. He wanted the land to be used for God's purposes. And we acquired the land, but not right away. He needed the money, and I didn't have enough money in my account. And within 2 weeks' time, God came through just in time with the time frame that the Catholic priest said, I need the money by this time. And God came through. And I had the vision, and we began to build. And God had given that vision, like I said, before we acquired the land. But then we acquired the land, and we had to believe for the money. And all this time, I've been in this process of this metamorphosis. I should say, like the season of change, where God was developing inside of me how to be a powerful business person, but also how to be a powerful person of faith, to believe him for greater and bigger things, to believe him for hundreds and thousands of dollars. And that's what I did. I stepped into this place of great faith and belief. And we persevered, and we began, as money would come in, we began to develop the land. We had no electricity on it. We had no water on the land. It was just an open field. And bit by bit, we were able to drill a well. We were able to put in the electricity, or at least build for the electricity. We persevered, and we continued to build with God. And all of this was in the waiting. It was in, like I said, the cocoon or the metamorphosis season. And in this season, he taught us serious patience. He taught us to trust him at a level we had never trusted him before. He helped us to grow and, like I said, step into this big, big place of faith in powerful ways, and not be afraid to spread our wings and to fly with him into unknown territories. Even if it looks ridiculous, we've got to be at this place where we're not afraid to spread our wings and fly even if it looks ridiculous to other people. Like I referenced Noah, like those people. Noah spread his wings and flew. He built that ark. David, he spread his wings and he co-created with God in the plans to build the temple. But Solomon spread his wings and he flew and he built the temple. Every metamorphosis season is unto something. Every season of change is unto something. Even if it feels painful, even when there's those moments of pain, and there will be, like I said, there will be those moments of pain, going through a metamorphosis season and going through change, going through the valleys. I say the valleys because usually your metamorphosis season is in those places of the valleys. It's not on the mountaintop seasons, really. For the most part, it's in the valleys. And it's in those metamorphosis seasons of change where we literally grow, and we grow into these powerful people that God has called us to be. So many times in these seasons of valley, in these seasons of change, I literally wanted to throw in the towel. When it came to our restaurant and building the restaurant, I wanted to throw in the towel so many times. And I had those thoughts, is this even worth it? Is this even going to go anywhere? Where's the money going to come from? And then God would remind me, hey, rise up, stand in faith. Even with our girls' home project, I wanted so many times to throw in the towel. We also had our safari company and we were building that. I wanted to throw in the towel so many times. And with my book, when it came to writing my book, so many times I would push my computer away from me and I go, forget it. I'm not equipped to do this. I'm not made to do this. I'm not going to write this book. And I would feel sometimes like that little toddler, right? I'm not going to do this. And God would remind me, you can do it. You can do this. You can do this. And, change hurts sometimes. There's pain with it, like I said. But with God, when you lean in, when you really lean in, He gives you the faith to rise up and step into the purpose of the change. God was wanting to teach me in these seasons about discipline and literally about releasing my voice. And it was all part of my metamorphosis, my cocoon season, to learn my heart. Yes, I had to learn my own heart. I had to learn who I really, really was. Or I should say, I had to learn who I really, really am. It was in this metamorphosis season, even now. I find myself in another metamorphosis season as I'm building, even as I'm building out this ministry. I'm a pioneer. And so we're always pioneering. People are always building things. They're always creating, and they're helping other people build, and they're helping other people create. And so we're always going and growing from faith to faith. We're growing and going from season to season. And so metamorphosis continuously happens. Some of you in this season, you're going through this metamorphosis season of change, and it hurts. And sometimes, like I said, it feels sucky. If you can even say that, it does sometimes. And I just want to, I'm talking to you real today, and I'm talking to you raw today. You're in a season of learning your heart, who you really are, who you were created or are created to be. You're in this season of greater growth, and you're growing. And in this metamorphosis season, God is taking you, He's growing you from glory to glory. I'm going to say that again. God is taking you and growing you, and He's taking you from glory to glory. Don't let your heart be discouraged. Do not be discouraged in the season that you're in. If you're finding yourself in this season of great change and great growth, don't be discouraged as you lean in. Do not be discouraged, because I promise you, on the other side, as you really lean in with the Father and you continue to grow, even if it hurts, even if it's painful, you're going to come out on this other side and you're going to come out unrecognizable to other people, but so recognizable to yourself, because you're going to realize, wow, this is who I really am. This is who I'm called to be. This is who Mary is. This is who David is. This is who Michelle is. This is who Juanita is. This is who you are. This is who you are. And this is who God has created you to be. So if you feel you're going through this metamorphosis season, if you feel the change and you can feel that like tug in your heart and sometimes pain, or you're like, I just feel like I'm in this sucky season and this growth hurts. Friend, do not shrink back. Don't shrink back. Hold on to the word of the Lord. Doesn't matter what other people say. It doesn't matter what words are coming at you, even negative words. Hold on to the word of the Lord. If you're in a pioneering or building season, I want to just applaud you. I want to applaud you for where you're at, for choosing to step into that place, because it's not easy. It's not easy. Or if you're just in this season of growth and you know that God is developing you into being a leader or developing you into something greater, like, do not shrink back. Hold on to what God is giving you. Hold on to what you know is truth in your heart. Hold on to the word of the Lord and stand. Stand firm. I want to encourage you to stand in that place. Exercise that mustard seed of faith and step into greater faith. Step into that place and step into greater faith. Watch faith grow in you as you take a stand. It's like putting your stake into the ground and saying, this is what God has said. Even though this hurts, even though it may feel painful, this is what God has said. This is what God is doing in me. And I know that this is the word of the Lord for this season in my life. So I'm choosing to stand. Friend, your breakthrough is coming. Let me just say this. Your breakthrough, it's not just coming, but it is now. It starts now, and it starts with you. Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this podcast, hit subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends and family. Always remember, your voice matters. Your dreams are worth pursuing. And you, my friend, have the power to roar out loud.